Welcome to the Grounded Guidance Podcast, where we explore the transformative potential of living in alignment with our intuition. I'm your host, Karen Williams. Each day we receive countless intuitive messages that guide us on our journey toward a more fulfilling life. Are you listening? Through personal experiences, ongoing self-reflection, and captivating stories, we will explore the wisdom of individuals who have embraced the magic of following their intuition and fearlessly sharing their light with the world. These conversations are designed to meet you exactly where you are, serving as a gentle push from the universe to join us on this enlightening journey. Time travel meets alternate reality meets primal fear. And what the heck was happening that day? Welcome, everybody, to the Grounded Guidance Podcast. I am traveling solo today. Not only is this a new type of episode that I will be bringing to you in addition to the guests we've had on, but we are going to dive deep through the gift of story to find space in what may not be something you have even thought about. My goal is to keep you thinking, challenge your assumptions and your inner narrative and the illusions that fear may hold in your life. If you want to get to know yourself really well, travel solo. I took my first solo trip in the spring of 2015, and it has been one of my greatest teachers about learning how to be who I am and listening to what I really need, really without the interference of somebody else. You literally have to think about only yourself. What do I want? What do I need? What am I hungry for? What do I want to do today? Yet on the flip side of all of this is that everyone and everything that silences your inner voice goes away. And you are left to navigate the strong sound of your heartbeat and the messy middle, as I like to call it. I like to sojourn solo as a way to push the threshold of my mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual states. I like to push my body physically, usually hiking anywhere between 35 and 40 miles in a 3-day time frame. And you really learn a lot about yourself when you're faced with adversity. Physical pain meets emotional baggage and the unending spiritual questions that never seem to cease. There's a lot that shakes loose and comes to the surface when you move through it. I remember on a recent trip, starting a hike, and it was about 75 degrees out, blue sky. It was about a 6-mile hike, and about a quarter of the way into the hike, it started to pour, and thunder and lightning started happening, and there was no cover, nowhere to seek refuge. And it is in those moments that I like to really think critically and brainstorm what the best way to do that. There seems to be a fair amount of freedom that comes from learning to trust yourself. Traveling solo has been less about if I could do it and more about awakening the divine within me. I have had this deep, insatiable hunger that I knew could only be satisfied by listening to what was being called forth within me. And that only came to the surface when I learned to walk with myself in the stillness and in the solitude, in the quiet recesses of nature. As a highly sensitive psychic, intuitive, and medium, I see and feel the world through a lens of many realities and many experiences all at the same time. Fear has had a grip hold on a lot of my life for many reasons, because I lacked the understanding and knowledge for what I was seeing and feeling. We can only see and feel things that we are the vibrational frequency matched to. So when I say that the dark was a very scary place for me for a very long time, it is because I could see and feel things that others could not. The frequency of fear was what I was vibrating at for too long. Ghosts, earthbound spirits, portals, aliens, interdimensional parasites, attachments, thought forms, people who had passed and not crossed into the light, dark agendas, dark people, etc. It crippled my life as I knew it because I simply tried to ignore it until I couldn't. To put it lightly, I really wasn't living. I was existing through this portal of fear on the daily. Until I was broken open and taken to my knees many years ago and forced to stand in and with the darkness and fear, to learn about it and integrate the shadows and understand how fear and frequency can be something that cripples you or connects you. For those of you that are listening and thinking, yeah, but there are a lot of really scary things in this world and a lot of scary people and places and situations. So much for me to be fearful about this. I say, yes, absolutely. But there is also light. If you look for it and align with it, we can't have darkness without light. And I would offer you this. Stop walking through your life looking for confirmation about your fears, because you will always find them. Always. This past spring, I took another yearly solo trip deep into the desert, where the arid landscape was a stark yet necessary contrast to my flowing, raw, and visceral emotions. I was moving through incredible sadness, grief, and fear at a rapid pace. To watch the landscape express my emotions felt necessary and humbling. Nature really is a beautiful mirror. And I don't often know what I need on these solo sabbaticals, but I always leave with exactly what I yearn for upon arrival. 3 days into my trip, I decided to hike a new to me trail between two fairly popular landmarks and trailheads. The trailhead was not super busy mid-morning, and there were moderate people on the trail hiking and people on their mountain bikes biking, and it was a bluebird day. The sun was shining, it was not too hot, the wildflowers were blooming, and I was able to count 15 different varieties of wildflowers blooming on this trail alone. I was feeling genuine excitement and contentment as I started out on this hike. I was able to soak it all in. I stopped to take pictures, take some deep breaths, and favorably align with what I was feeling. As I progressed on the trail, I heard clairaudiently, how do I move through fear, as fear is a great teacher? And what I heard was this: people have to connect with their heart and learn to listen to the life before them. Then I was told to narrate the following tenets to aligning with your inner compass and not living in fear. So I whipped out my phone, opened up my voice memos, and the following tenets were shared with me clairaudiently. Number 1, get out of your own way. What are you doing to self-sabotage and create obstacles and excuses? Number 2, get moving. Move your body physically. The emotion of your body stays clogged. Find a way to unclog it. Number 3, find your own path. It is easy to see what other people are doing and want to replicate this, but you must first seek within and know that each person has their own unique and guiding path. Number 4, if you are unsure, scared, angry, sad, devoid of emotion, you might be on the right path. No one ever said it was going to be easy. The perception you have of other people and their journey is often that it came easy for other people. Take the steps forward even when you are unsure, sad, or angry. And I voice noted at this point that the wildflowers are epic. Number 5, get out of your head and into your body and allow your body to work it out for you. And leave it all on the trail. Number 6, be willing to be with your thoughts, feelings, and emotions about something while you're in it, rather than deferring, avoiding, and deflecting. You will move through it faster. So as soon as I had transcribed this, I looked down and saw a piece of Y wood, which has always been my North Star when I'm out in nature, a piece of wood that is in the shape of a Y. It allows me to pause and ask the question, why? And it also reminds me of the part in the Robert Frost poem, 2 roads diverged in yellow wood, and I took the road less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. It always gives me pause. And it reminds me that I have the choice. I can choose a different path. I can choose a different attitude. I can choose a different thought form. I can choose who I hang out with. I can choose a different way forward. It doesn't have to be the path that I'm on. Also, what I notice after tenet number 6, is that the trail then becomes deafening quiet. And everything around me becomes incredibly still. I see no one on the trail as I'm narrating this for the past 10 to 15 minutes. No one behind me, no one ahead of me, no one in the area. You couldn't hear the sound of people. Often you can hear that. It's kind of a comforting feeling. And it became very eerie. For the first 30 to 45 minutes on the trail, there were quite a few groups of hikers, bikers, some solo travelers, and there's always kind of a buzz happening. It all became very quiet and still. This particular trail intersects with 2 more trails that you can kind of see as you are approaching the intersection. Nobody on those trails. It all just became very, very still. Number 7, give yourself time to expand and grow and adapt and change your ways and release your expectations. And by this point, I'm feeling like I've stepped into an alternate reality and an alternate dimension, a time slip, a time portal. Something is different. And it literally is just me on this beautiful hike and these incredible surroundings until number 8. If you are confused and unsure and doubting this, trust your internal guidance and that your body will work through it. Your head is above your heart, but your heart should always lead the way. So after I had clairaudiently heard number 8 tenets, no coincidence. The number 8 represents the balance in the material world and the spiritual world. It's the balance between both. The number 8 shares its shape with the symbol of infinity, a never-ending loop and cycle. It is the number that comes with positive energy, the power of transitions, and the possibility of infinite abundance. So as I turned a slight corner after hearing number 8, I was on this rock-cragged path, which had kind of a gradual decline. And I saw the first person I'd seen in over 25 minutes. This person was just off the trail setting up something under a tree. It was a man, not dressed in hiking clothes, and nothing about the situation appeared or felt realistic or normal to me. My fear kind of took hold and gripped me in this paralyzing feeling. He was dressed in normal everyday clothes, designer jeans, a t-shirt, sandals, no backpack, no food. 2 miles from the nearest trailhead. He was not what I would consider, based on my perceptions, homeless. He had a blanket that he was setting up under this tree. And as I traversed by the location that he was, my body moved from, this is really curious, to full body primal fear and chills. Something to note. I am constantly aware of what is happening in my environment, usually long before other people notice. I take note of things very quickly, run things through my intuition, and I've learned and refined this technique to move through fear and allow myself to live my life rather than be paralyzed by it. As I moved by this man, some curious things happened. I always look to engage people when I'm out on the trails. I don't do this to be annoying, but mostly to acknowledge people and let them know, hey, I see you. I attempted to do that with this man. He didn't even look my way. He didn't acknowledge me. He didn't, quote unquote, see me, but his body language was such that he wasn't threatening to me. Just extremely out of place. I was creating the threat in my mind. And in the exact moment I walked by him, I heard something. that sounded like it was coming from a radio or a device. I didn't see anything. And it said, the gene keys. If you've never heard of the gene keys or the gene key theory, listen to this. Our beliefs shape our genes. When we change our beliefs, we change the chemistry of our body. The gene keys are an inner language whose central purpose is to transform our core beliefs about ourselves, thus raising our lives to a whole new level of awareness. I've been leaning into this and studying the gene key theory since this experience last spring. To say that my mind has been opened to a new level is quite an understatement. As I continued down the path, I moved from primal instinct to fear overload. Holy crap. What have I gotten myself into, and how do I get myself out of it? Bear in mind, I know this area very, very well. I have never felt like this before, anywhere. I moved quickly and my brain went into overdrive. I started walking quicker, pulled out my phone to see if I had service, and launched a plan in my head to escape this scary situation. Telling this story, it sounds completely absurd, right? I mean, fear has a way of doing this. It will drive you to create all these false pretenses around what is actually happening. So if we take a step back and look at what fear is our survival response. And it really is only experienced in our mind, but it triggers a very, very strong reaction in our body. As soon as you recognize fear, the amygdala, the little almond-shaped gland in our brain, structure in our brain, goes to work to alert your nervous system, which sets your body's fear response in motion. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline are released. Your blood pressure and heart rate spike. Blood flows away from the heart and into your limbs so you can run to escape quicker or throw punches if your life depends on it. Your body is literally preparing to fight or flight. So I get about a half a mile down the trail and realized I needed to find a way out, but not back the way that I came. Fortunately, I came across a couple and they looked at me funny. I must have had a look like I'd seen a ghost or something. I stopped them and asked if I could trail them out on the trail the way that we came back to the parking lot. I told them what I experienced. They kind of shared an experience they had, asked if it was the same person. And I told them, nope, it wasn't. It was just a really uncomfortable situation. So we moved, they welcomed me. We moved back through the trail or on the trail, moved back by the same spot I had seen that person. And again, I think this was maybe 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. Again, it was a time slip, so I don't know exactly how long it was. And the person was gone. This man I never saw again. I moved back through what was that time-space portal. He wasn't there, but as soon as we moved beyond what was that time slip, there were people that appeared. Bikers returned, hikers appeared, groups of people appeared on the trail again, and we moved all the way to the trailhead and never saw him again. And by the time I moved back to the trailhead, I was starting to feel a little silly, looking back on this. Who was this man on the path? Had I slipped really into another dimension? And really, what was he there to teach me? I returned to my car. I stopped the watch that I had that was kind of calculating my hike. And I stopped the hike precisely at 1 hour, 11 minutes, and 11 seconds. Some would say that divine time touched upon me that day. The number 1, stay positive. Give up your fears. The number 11, stay positive with your thoughts. They're materializing rapidly. And number 111, new thoughts are manifesting rapidly. So as I look at that and I think about those numbers, fear can take a grip hold on everything, and you can manifest what you fear really rapidly. or you can't. And that became, a true reality for me that day. This is where kind of the heavy hand of superstition bleeds the line of divine guidance. And some will say that it's just simply superstition that you ended the hike at that time, when really superstition is kind of a fear-based mentality, whereas synchronicity and signs of alignment are really powered by the superconscious. I've spent many months processing this, not through the lens of fear, but rather the lens of curiosity. And curiosity has led me to a deep reverence for understanding how fear shows up and simply how to move through it. Fear has really taught me that there are some false pretenses and illusions that exist within me that I'm working through. One of which is that it's not safe for women to travel alone, which may be true in some places, but this is not an absolute idea. You can really hold two opposing ideas without over-rationalizing it and still understand what the fear is meant to teach you. I have a fear of showing up for myself. What does that mean? It has been easier my whole life to play small and keep my gifts hidden for fear of being ostracized or shunned. I know I have these incredible gifts that need to be shared with the world. This platform has been a big step in moving through those fears. I have worked through the fear of not being good enough in anything I do, not because I care about what others think, but I'm so afraid of letting myself down. I have a deep, abiding fear of the open water and what lies beneath. And honestly, that may take lifetimes to move through, but I'm open to the possibility of what it may feel like to not have that fear. I'm no longer fearful of closing my eyes at night as I've sat in the belly of the beast and asked questions about what this fear is invoking. I'm not fearful of traveling alone. The liberation and freedom through solo travel has been the causeway for my own evolution. Was the man on the path real inside this space and time? No. I think I time slipped and he existed in another dimension that has felt so fearful for me for so long. I believe I had to be taken there to feel it and to heal it. Where I have been in and out of this reality for so long, it just so happened that he manifested in the physical form. This has been pivotal in helping me shape my perceptions and experiences. If you look back at the gene key theory, it is all aligned. The gene key theory states that our beliefs shape our genes. And when we change our beliefs, we change the chemistry of our body. And the gene keys are an inner language whose central purpose is to transform our core beliefs about ourselves, thus raising our lives to a whole new level of awareness. I've also been studying human design, and the gates in human design are created by the 64 gene keys. You'll be seeing another episode on that soon. Now for you, think about what you fear. What about this fear holds you back? How can you challenge some assumptions around this fear or fears? I'd love to hear from you how fear has shown up for you and how you're moving through it. Who do you think the man on the path was? Remember, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. And I'll leave you with this. There were 8 tenets downloaded to me that day on the trail. The infinity and eternity symbol is the number 8 on its side. The infinity symbol is all about spiritual growth and opening up another level of awareness in the symbol of infinite eternity, which helps us reestablish our lost unity with creation and feel once again connected to the world. There might be 2 temporal dimensions, the present moment that passes, which is what we normally live in. That is known as nunc fluens, the Latin word meaning now that passes and flows. The alternate is nunc stans, literally the now that remains. When we encounter these altered moments in time, it might be because there is an ever-existing field of eternal time which we can occasionally tap into. Eternity is time without beginning or an end. Eternity stands outside of time. It is a perspective on time, but not time itself. Thanks for tuning in. I'd love to hear your story about fear or alternate realities or thoughts about who this man was. I will see you in the comments. Until next time, take good care, my friends. Thank you for joining us today on the Grounded Guidance podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving a review. Your feedback helps us reach more curious minds like yours. Until next time, stay grounded, stay guided, and keep stretching your edges to think differently. Take care, my friends.